The vast emptiness of space stretched out before the galactic Concordat vessel Eternal Harmony. The ship glided silently through the darkness, its sleek purple hull reflecting distant starlight. Commander Zix Vorn stood on the bridge, his four eyes blinking in sequence as he watched the small blue planet grow larger on the main view screen. Sensors confirm primitive warp capability, reported Science Officer Mil Tara, her tentacles waving excitedly over her control panel. The species calls themselves humans. They have only achieved interstellar travel within the last 30 Earth years. Zix Vorn nodded, his crest of feathers rising slightly with interest. Another young species. Prepare first contact protocols. Remember, the Concordat has established these rules for a reason. No cultural contamination, no advanced technology sharing, and above all, no alarming the natives. The crew moved with practiced efficiency. After all, the Galactic Concordat had performed first contact with 17 other species in the last century alone. There was a procedure for everything. Human vessel approaching, announced the communications officer. They call their ship Intrepid Discovery. Zix Vorn straightened his ceremonial sash. Open a channel. Let us welcome them to the wider galaxy. The human ship looked bulky and inefficient compared to the elegant Concordat vessel. Its hull was marked with blue and white paint, with strange symbols the translator identified as NASA and United Earth Space Command. On the view screen, a pink-skinned human appeared. He had short brown facial hair on his lower face and short hair on top of his head. He wore a blue uniform with silver markings on the shoulders. This is Captain Frank Miller of the Earth vessel Intrepid Discovery. We come in peace and friendship. The human's mouth formed what the Concordat xenologists identified as a smile, a non-threatening gesture. Commander Zix Vorn performed the traditional greeting, pressing his upper limbs together. I am Commander Zix Vorn of the Galactic Concordat. We also come in peace. We have been observing your world and believe your species is ready to join the interstellar community. The conversation continued with practiced diplomatic exchanges. The humans appeared excited, but maintained reasonable composure. Arrangements were made for a delegation from each ship to visit the other, a standard procedure for establishing formal relations. 6 hours later, the human delegation arrived on the Eternal Harmony. Captain Miller brought his cultural specialist, Lieutenant Samantha Wright, a female human with long yellow hair and a serious expression, and his chief engineer, Joe Barnes, a larger male with dark skin and a loud laugh that made the Concordat security team nervous. The tour proceeded according to protocol. The humans asked predictable questions about propulsion systems, ship capacity, and Concordat history. The xenologists noted that this species seemed adaptable and curious, typical traits of successful spacefaring races. Would you like to see our medical bay? Offered Zix Vorn. Our healing technology is quite advanced. Lieutenant Wright nodded eagerly. That would be fascinating. Our medical sciences have advanced rapidly, but we still have many diseases we cannot cure. The medical bay doors slid open to reveal rows of floating gel pods where patients could be suspended for treatment. A Concordat doctor began explaining the healing properties of their medical gel when the translator suddenly emitted a high-pitched squeal and stopped working. Minor malfunction, Zix Vorn said, trying to reset the device. Our most sincere apologies. The humans didn't seem concerned. In fact, Engineer Barnes was looking at the translator with interest. May I? He asked, gesturing toward the device. Zix Vorn hesitated. Concordat protocol strictly forbade sharing technology. But the translator was a basic device, and the malfunction was interrupting an important and diplomatic moment. You may examine it, but please do not. Before Zix Vorn could finish, Barnes had already opened the casing and was poking at the internal components with his thick fingers. The Concordat officers watched in horror at what seemed like barbaric handling of delicate equipment. "Frequency modulator is out of alignment," Barnes muttered. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small tool. "Got something similar in our universal translators. Just need to ... He twisted something inside the device, and it immediately hummed back to life. "Fixed," Barnes announced with a grin. Simple adjustment. The Concordat officers exchanged glances. No proper procedure had been followed. No diagnostic scan. No replacement parts requisition. Just ... improvisation. The tour continued to the engineering section, where the humans were shown the outer areas of the propulsion systems. Nothing too advanced. Just what was deemed appropriate for a species. At their technological level ... As they were explaining the basics of Concordat faster-than-light travel, the ship suddenly lurched. Warning lights flashed as the artificial gravity fluctuated. "Minor power surge," reported a Concordat engineer through the COM system. "Gravity systems affected in sections 12 through 15. Estimate 30 minutes for full restoration." The Concordat delegation began floating slightly above the floor. Most kept their composure, though Science Officer Miltora's tentacles waved frantically as she tried to stabilize herself. Captain Miller and Lieutenant Wright also remained calm, using nearby handrails to steady themselves. But Engineer Barnes was already looking at the nearby control panel with narrowed eyes. "You know, we had a similar problem on the Intrepid last month," he said. He turned to a fellow crew member and handed over his coffee mug. "Hold my beer," he said. Despite the mug clearly containing a dark brown liquid that the sensors identified as coffee, the phrase was unusual enough that the FIDE Concordat translator flagged it for cultural reference documentation before anyone could stop him. Barnes pushed off the wall and floated toward an access panel. He pulled it open and squeezed his large body into the maintenance shaft. "Sir, that area is restricted." Zix Vaughn called out, alarmed at the protocol breach. Barnes' voice echoed from inside the shaft. "Just need to check the gravity plate connections. Bet it's a simple power routing issue." The Concordat engineers looked at each other in confusion. The gravity systems were complex and delicate. Any incorrect manipulation could cause catastrophic failure throughout the ship. "Your engineer must return immediately," Zix Vaughn insisted to Captain Miller. "Our systems are not like yours." Miller smiled calmly. "Don't worry, Commander. Joe can fix anything. It's what he does." From within the shaft came the sounds of metal tools against panels and muttered human expressions the translator couldn't process. After approximately 2 minutes, the gravity suddenly stabilized. Barnes emerged from the shaft with a grin, his uniform now dirty with some kind of lubricant. "Found your problem," he announced cheerfully. "Power coupling was loose. Probably from that micrometeor shower you folks passed through last week. I tightened it up and rerouted through the secondary system. Should hold fine now." The Concordat engineers rushed to their panels, checking systems in disbelief. Not only was the gravity functioning normally, but the power flow readings showed a 3.7% efficiency improvement. That was most irregular, Zix Vaughn said slowly, "but we appreciate your assistance." Later, after the human delegation had returned to their ship, the Concordat officers gathered for their standard post-contact assessment. "The humans are more technically adaptive than expected," noted the chief engineer. "They solved our gravity issue using intuition rather than established procedure." Science Officer Miltora added, "I've analyzed the human phrase, 'hold my beer.' It appears to be a cultural indicator that precedes an unorthodox solution or potentially dangerous action." Zix Vaughn considered this information carefully. "Make a notation in the xenological database. Classify humans as unpredictably resourceful. And add a special cultural flag for this phrase, 'hold my beer.' mark it as a potential low-level concern. None of them realized that this small notation would eventually become the most important protocol in the entire Galactic Concordat. 6 months passed since the first meeting between humans and the Galactic Concordat. Earth had moved quickly to establish formal relations with the 12 alien species that made up the Interstellar Alliance. A large space station now orbited Jupiter, serving as the main diplomatic hub for Earth's growing connections, with the Galaxy Ambassador Lisa Green sat at the head of the curved table in conference. Room Alpha. She was a tall woman with short red hair and sharp green eyes that missed nothing. Today she wore her formal diplomatic uniform, a navy blue suit with Earth's new planetary emblem, a blue and green circle with stars around it. "The trade agreement with the Volari seems fair," she said to her team. "They get access to our music and art. We get their medical technology. Cultural exchange is always the easiest place to start." Security Chief Alan Carter nodded. He was a broad-shouldered man with a serious face and quick eyes that constantly scanned the room. "The Volari are peaceful enough. It's the V-Cathron Empire I'm worried about. Their ambassador keeps asking about our military capabilities." Science Liaison Heather Johnson looked up from her data tablet. "They've requested another meeting today. Something about mining rights to Saturn's moons." Lisa sighed. "The V-Cathron are the most aggressive species in the Concordat. They respect strength above all else. We need to be firm but not threatening." The door slid open, and a tall reptilian figure entered. Ambassador Kresh of the Vayten Empire stood nearly 7 feet tall. His scaled skin was a deep blue-green, and the bony ridges above his yellow eyes gave him a permanently angry expression. 2 junior Vagthrin officers followed him, their hands resting on ceremonial weapons. "Greetings, Earth representatives," Kresh said, his voice deep and rumbling through the translator. "I trust you have considered our generous offer." Lisa stood and gave the formal V-Cathron greeting, pressing her fist to her opposite shoulder. "Ambassador Kresh, welcome. Please join us." The V-Cathran delegation sat across from the humans. Kresh's tail swished impatiently behind him. "Your offer regarding Saturn's moons," Lisa began carefully. "We find it interesting. However, we have concerns about the exclusive nature of the mining rights you're requesting." Kresh's eyes narrowed. "The V-Cathran Empire does not share resources once claimed. This is our way. We offer fair payment and protection." "Protection from what?" Alan asked directly, earning him a sharp look from Lisa. "The galaxy is full of dangers." "Human," Kresh replied. "Many species would take advantage of your world's inexperience. The V-Cathran offer their shield in exchange for reasonable access to resources." Heather Johnson spoke up. "Our scans show the moons contain rare elements valuable for faster-than-light drive components. We're still learning this technology ourselves." "Precisely why you should accept our offer," Kresh said, leaning forward. "Your species is young. You need allies with strength." The meeting continued for another hour. The V-Cathran demands grew increasingly one-sided. They wanted exclusive rights to mine all of Saturn's moons for 50 Earth years, offering only basic technology and protection in return. Lisa maintained her diplomatic composure, but she could feel the tension rising in the room. The junior Vagthrin officers had moved their hands closer to their weapons, a subtle threat display that Alan had definitely noticed. "Perhaps we should take a short break," Lisa suggested. "Resume in 15 minutes? Kresh stood abruptly. "There is nothing to consider. The V-Cathron Empire has made a fair offer. Accept it, or we will pursue other arrangements." "Other arrangements?" Lisa asked carefully. "There are factions in your system not aligned with your Earth government. Independent. Colonies on Mars, I believe? Perhaps they would appreciate VK Thrawn protection more than you. The threat was clear. The Vake Thrawn were suggesting they might make separate deals with Earth's colonial settlements. Undermining planetary unity. Alan Carter stood slowly. His face remained calm, but Lisa could see the tension in his shoulders. Ambassador Kresh, Alan said quietly, I admire the directness of VK Thrawn negotiation style. In the spirit of directness, may I speak plainly about Earth's position? Kresh seemed surprised, but nodded. The VK Thrawn respect warriors who speak truth. Alan removed his ceremonial sidearm and handed it to Heather. Hold my beer, he said. Casually. Across the room, a Concordat observer's eyes widened at the phrase. The alien quickly tapped something into a communication device. Alan stepped closer to Kresh, completely relaxed despite the 7-foot reptilian warrior towering over him. The thing about humans, Ambassador, is that we're real good at making friends, but we're even better at recognizing bullies. Alan smiled, but his eyes remained serious. Now, those Mars colonies you mentioned, they might argue with Earth government about taxes and representation, but they're still humans. And humans stick together when threatened by outsiders. Kresh's tail swished faster. Is this a threat, human? Not at all. It's an opportunity for real partnership. Alan gestured to the star map on the wall. See, we've been studying your border. Conflict with the Shatari Alliance. Nasty business. Been going on, 30 years now? Kresh's eyes narrowed. How do you know of this conflict? Public records in the Concordat database. Thing is, Earth has some unique mining techniques. Low impact, high yield. Developed them for asteroid mining before we had faster than light travel. Alan pointed to a specific region on the map. Your disputed territory there has asteroids similar to what we worked with in our home system. What are you suggesting? Kresh asked, suddenly interested. Shared mining rights to Saturn's moons. Non-exclusive. In exchange, Earth provides mining technology and consulting to help the VK Thrawn extract resources from those disputed asteroids without triggering Shatari defense systems. Alan shrugged. You get more resources overall, plus a technical edge in your border dispute. We keep partial access to our own system's resources. Everyone wins. The room fell silent. The junior VK Thrawn officers looked at each other in confusion. This was not how negotiations usually went with the intimidating VK Thrawn Empire. Kresh studied Alan for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, he made a sound the translator identified as laughter. You humans are strange, Kresh said. You appear weak, yet you find leverage where none should exist. He nodded slowly. Your proposal has ... merit. The VK Thrawn Empire will consider shared access under these terms. When the meeting ended 2 hours later, a preliminary agreement had been drafted. The VK Thrawn would have mining rights to Saturn's moons, but not exclusively. In exchange, Earth would provide technical assistance with the VK Thrawn's asteroid mining operations in the disputed territory. After the VK Thrawn delegation left, Lisa turned to Alan with a mixture of relief and disbelief. How did you know about their border conflict? That wasn't in our briefing. Alan grinned. I've been reading everything I can find in the Concordat database. Military history, current conflicts, technical specifications. Know your potential enemies better than they know themselves. Across the station, in the Concordat security office, an alien officer was filing an urgent report. Second confirmed incident involving human phrase, hold my beer, preceding unexpected diplomatic maneuver. Subject Carter. Alan displayed no fear. Response when confronting VK Thrawn delegation, despite physical disadvantage. Employed strategic knowledge and unconventional negotiation tactics. Recommend upgrade of hold my beer protocol to moderate alert status. Human unpredictability factor remains significant concern advantage. Further observation warranted. The report was transmitted to Concordat headquarters, where it joined a growing file on human behavior patterns. The phrase "hold my beer" was officially upgraded to a cultural indicator of imminent unconventional action, with a recommendation for increased observation. The humans, meanwhile, celebrated their diplomatic victory with actual beer, completely unaware that they were becoming a source of both fascination and alarm throughout the galaxy. 1 year had passed since Earth joined the Galactic Concordat. Human scientists now worked alongside alien researchers in labs across the galaxy. At the prestigious Galactic Sciences Academy on Proxima Centauri 4, physicist Dr. Kevin Ross led a team working on quantum entanglement, communication. The Academy was an impressive structure of crystal and metal that seemed to float above the planet's surface. Inside, scientists from 12 different species collaborated on the most challenging problems in the universe. Dr. Ross was a tall, thin man with messy brown hair and bright blue eyes that lit up when he talked about physics. Today, he stood in the main demonstration hall before the Science Council, a group of the galaxy's most brilliant minds. His assistant, Dr. Maria Collins, a shorter woman with dark curly hair, checked their equipment one last time. A quantum entanglement demonstration will begin in 5 minutes, announced an automated voice. Kevin looked around nervously. The hall was filled with important scientists and diplomats. In the front row sat Grand Scientist Max Feller, the 8-armed genius who had led the Concordat's scientific division for over a century. Next to him was Ambassador Lisa Green, representing Earth's interests. "Are we ready?" Kevin whispered to Maria. She nodded. "The paired particles are stable. Power systems are nominal. But Kevin, the energy requirements are still at the upper limit of what the system can handle." "It'll work," Kevin said with more confidence than he felt. "We've run the simulations 100 times. For centuries, the Concordat had tried to develop faster-than-light communication. Their ships could travel between stars, but messages still couldn't move faster than light speed. If Kevin's team succeeded, ships could communicate instantly across any distance. "Begin demonstration," ordered Grand Scientist Nax VLAR. Kevin stepped forward. "Esteemed members of the Science Council, today we will demonstrate stable quantum communication over interstellar distances." He gestured to a large screen showing a satellite orbiting a distant star 4 light-years away. "We have placed quantum entangled particles here, in this room, and aboard that satellite. When we manipulate our particles, the paired particles will respond instantly, regardless of distance." The alien scientists watched with polite skepticism. Many had tried similar experiments over the centuries. None had succeeded. Kevin activated the main console. Blue energy swirled around a containment field, holding subatomic particles suspended in midair. On the screen, similar energy appeared around the satellite's matching system. "Initiating contact sequence," Maria announced. The energy intensified. The particles in the containment field began to spin faster. "Power usage at 70%, Maria reported. 80%. 90%. Kevin frowned. The system was drawing more power than expected. At this rate, they would exceed capacity. Before establishing a stable connection, warning lights flashed on the console. The containment field flickered. "Power at maximum capacity," Maria said, her voice tense. "Field stability dropping." Murmurs spread through the audience. Grand Scientist Nax Valor shook his head slightly, as if he had expected this failure. Kevin looked at the data streaming across his tablet. The standard approach wasn't working. The power requirements were too high for a stable connection. He needed to try something different, something the Concordat scientists would never attempt. He handed his tablet to Maria. "Hold my beer," he said quietly. Across the room, A Concordat security officer's eyes widened at the phrase. The alien quickly sent an alert through his communication device. Kevin stepped forward and began typing rapidly on the main console, changing parameters that the Concordat scientists had considered fixed constants. "Dr. Ross, what are you doing?" asked Grand Scientist Max Veller, rising from his seat. "Those are fundamental parameters." Kevin didn't answer. Instead, he redirected power from the containment field's outer layer to strengthen the core. Then, he reduced the particle excitation level by 30%, the opposite of what conventional theory suggested. "That will destabilize the entire system," called out one alien scientist. "Power usage dropping to 70%, Maria reported, surprised. 60%. Field stability ... increasing." On the large screen, the satellite systems adjusted to match Kevin's changes. The paired particles slowed their spin but began to pulse with a steady blue light. "Quantum resonance achieved," Kevin announced, initiating communication test. He typed a simple message on the console. "Hello, Galaxy." Everyone watched the screen showing the distant satellite. According to all known physics, a message would take 4 years to reach that distance. 3 seconds later, the satellite's display showed, "Hello, Galaxy." The room fell silent. "That's impossible," whispered an alien scientist. "Message received." "And verified," Maria confirmed. "Transmission time, 3.2 seconds. "But that's still faster than light," said Grand Scientist Max Veller. Kevin smiled. "Not quite." The quantum connection was instant. The 3.2 seconds was just the satellite's computer. Processing time. He turned to the stunned audience. "By reducing the excitation level and reinforcing the core field, we created what we call a lazy particle state. It requires less energy, but maintains quantum coherence. The paired particles don't need to be fully excited to remain connected. But all our theories indicate maximum excitation is necessary for quantum entanglement communication," argued Max Veller. "Your theories are based on perfect mathematical models," Kevin explained. "But particles in the real world are messy. They don't always follow perfect math. Sometimes they take shortcuts." "Shortcuts?" The alien scientist seemed both horrified and fascinated. "It's like ... Kevin searched for a simple explanation. "It's like when you want to wash your hands. You could use exactly 1 cup of water at exactly 70 degrees for exactly 20 seconds. Or you could just splash some water on them quickly. Not perfect, but good enough." Maria stepped forward. "We discovered that quantum particles can maintain connection in a low-energy state if you give them the right push. Less precise, but more efficient." The demonstration continued for another hour. Kevin sent images, data, and even small programs through the quantum connection. Everything transferred instantly between points 4 light years apart. When the demonstration ended, the Science Council surrounded the human team with questions. How had they discovered this technique? Why hadn't Concordat scientists found it in centuries of research? "Sometimes you need fresh eyes," Kevin explained. "We didn't know it was supposed to be impossible, so we tried things your scientists considered too risky or illogical." Later that evening, in a private meeting room, Grand Scientist Max Veller spoke with Ambassador Lisa Green. "Your Dr. Ross has achieved what our best minds could not," Max Veller admitted. "This lazy particle approach violates several established scientific principles, yet it works." "Humans often find unusual solutions," Lisa said diplomatically. "We noticed he used the phrase 'hold my beer' before making his unconventional adjustments," Max Veller said. "Our security protocols have flagged this phrase in multiple incidents involving humans." Lisa tried not to smile. "It's just a saying, perhaps. But the Concordat Scientific Directorate has upgraded the alert level associated with this phrase. When humans say these words, They often defy established knowledge in ... concerning ways. While the diplomats talked, Kevin and Maria celebrated with their research team. None of them knew that across the galaxy, the Concordat had just classified human scientific methods as potentially destabilizing to established paradigms and placed the phrase, "Hold my beer," on a high-priority watch list that the new quantum communication technology would soon connect the entire galaxy in ways never before possible. And the humans were just getting started. The emergency alarm blared throughout the Concordat command center. Red lights flashed as officers from a dozen different species rushed to their stations. On the main view screen, a swarm of strange ships poured through a previously unknown wormhole. Near the Proxima Centauri system, Hive Dominion vessels confirmed, announced the sensor officer, a tall blue-skinned alien with 4 arms. Count at 300 and rising. Grand Admiral Zex Vorlin, the Supreme Commander of Concordat forces, stared at the tactical display with all 4 of his eyes. His feathered crest lay flat against his head, a sign of extreme concern. The Hive were supposed to be contained in the Andromeda Galaxy, he said. How did they find a way to our galaxy? No one had an answer. The Hive Dominion was a feared enemy that the Concordat had fought centuries ago. They were insect-like beings with a shared consciousness who consumed all resources in their path. The last war had ended with the Hive trapped in another galaxy. Alert all Concordat worlds, ordered Zex Vorlin. Deploy the defense fleet to Proxima Centauri immediately. Within hours, the Concordat had assembled a coalition fleet. Ships from all 12 member species gathered at the edge of the Proxima system. Among them was the newly commissioned Earth Defense Force, led by Fleet Commander Eric Butler aboard his flagship Audacity. Commander Butler was a middle-aged man with gray at his temples and sharp brown eyes that missed nothing. He stood on the bridge of the Audacity, studying the tactical display with his executive officer, Commander Diana Foster. The Hive ships outnumber us 3-1, Diana pointed out. She was younger than Eric, with short black hair and a serious expression. And our weapons technology is still behind most Concordat vessels. Eric nodded. But we have something they don't expect, human tactics. The coalition fleet commanders gathered for a strategy meeting via quantum communication. Link, the same technology that Dr. Kevin Ross had developed. Grand Admiral Zex Vorlin led the discussion from his flagship. The Hive Dominion follows predictable attack patterns, the Admiral explained. They will send smaller ships to test our defenses, then follow with their larger vessels. We must hold position at these coordinates and create a defensive line. The alien commanders agreed with this conventional approach. Then it was Eric's turn to speak. With respect, Admiral, Eric said, a defensive position against superior numbers gives the Hive all the advantages. They can surround us and pick us off one by one. The alien commanders looked at Eric with surprise. Questioning the Grand Admiral was not common practice. What do you suggest, Commander Butler? Asked Zex Vorlin stiffly. Eric highlighted a section of space on the tactical display. The Hive fleet must pass by this neutron star to reach the populated worlds. If we position our forces here, between the star and this abandoned space station, we can use the gravity well to our advantage. The alien commanders studied the position with concern. That places our fleet with our backs to a neutron star, said a reptilian commander. If the Hive pushes us back, we will be destroyed by the gravity well. There is no retreat possible from that position. Exactly, Eric replied. The Hive won't expect us to take a position with no escape route. It defies conventional military doctrine. The meeting erupted with objections. Fighting with no retreat path was considered suicidal. But Eric held firm, explaining how Earth ships could use the neutron star's gravity to perform slingshot maneuvers that would give them tactical Advantages. After 2 hours of debate, the alien commanders remained unconvinced. Grand Admiral Zex Vorlin finally raised his hands for silence. "We will proceed with the defensive line strategy," he announced. "The Earth vessels may take supporting positions on our flanks." Eric looked disappointed, but accepted the decision. The meeting ended, and the commanders returned to their ships. 6 hours later, the battle began. The Hive ships attacked exactly as predicted, testing the Concordat's defensive line with smaller vessels before bringing in their larger ships. The battle was going according to Concordat doctrine, but not well. The sheer number of Hive ships was overwhelming the defensive line. "Concordat Center is taking heavy damage," reported Diana. "Their left flank is collapsing." Eric watched the battle unfold with growing concern. The Hive was using the Concordat's predictable tactics against them, concentrating fire on weak points in the line. "The Grand Admiral's ship has taken critical damage," called out the communications officer. "They're requesting assistance." Eric made his decision. He opened a channel to all Earth vessels. "This is Commander Butler. The defensive line strategy has failed. We are implementing Operation Slingshot." He turned to Diana. "All Earth ships, break formation, can proceed to neutron star coordinates." The Earth fleet, 20 ships strong, broke away from the main battle and headed toward the neutron star. Confused communications came in from the Concordat vessels, but Eric ignored them. He removed his command insignia and handed it to Diana. "Hold my beer," he said calmly. Throughout the fleet, Concordat observers on Earth vessels recognized the phrase. Emergency alerts spread through the coalition network. "All Earth ships, prepare for gravity assist maneuvers," Eric ordered. "We're going to slingshot around the neutron star and hit the Hive from behind. They'll be focused on the main Concordat fleet and won't expect an attack from the rear." "Sir, the gravitational forces near the neutron star exceed our ship's structural limits," warned the navigation officer. "They exceed the recommended limits," Eric corrected. "But our ships were built with safety margins. We can handle more than the specs say." The Earth fleet approached the neutron star. Warning alarms blared as the massive gravity began pulling at the ships. "Full power to structural integrity fields," Eric ordered. "Begin slingshot pattern. Vary your trajectories to create multiple attack vectors." What followed was a maneuver so reckless it bordered on suicidal. The Earth ships skimmed the edge of the neutron star's gravity well, using its enormous pull to accelerate to speeds the engines alone could never achieve. Ship hulls groaned under the strain. Some vessels reported minor hull breaches, but it worked. The Earth fleet whipped around the neutron star and shot toward the Hive fleet from behind, moving so fast the enemy had no time to react. "All ships, target the command vessels," Eric ordered. "Fire everything when in range." The Earth ships sliced through the Hive formation, weapons blazing. The unexpected attack from the rear threw the Hive into confusion. Their hive mind coordination faltered as their command ships took heavy damage. Seeing the opportunity, Grand Admiral Zex Vorlin rallied the remaining Concordat forces. "All ships, push forward. The humans have given us an opening." The battle raged for another hour. The Earth ships completed another neutron star slingshot, attacking the Hive fleet from a third direction. Caught between the Earth forces and the regrouped Concordat fleet, the Hive ships began to retreat back toward the wormhole. "They're running," shouted Diana as cheers erupted across the bridge. When the battle ended, the coalition had suffered heavy losses but achieved victory. The Hive fleet had been driven back through the wormhole, which Concordat scientists then collapsed using technology based on Dr. Ross's quantum research. In the aftermath, Eric Butler was summoned to Grand Admiral Zex Vorlin's flagship. He expected a reprimand for disobeying orders. Instead, He found the admiral waiting with the commanders of all Concordat forces. "Commander Butler," the admiral said formally, "your tactics defied all established military doctrine. You placed your ships at risk in ways no Concordat commander would ever consider." He paused. "And in doing so, you saved this entire sector." The Concordat Military Command immediately established a maximum level alert protocol, specifically triggered by the phrase, "Hold my beer," requiring all allied forces to prepare for imminent human-originated chaos with high probability of either catastrophic failure or unprecedented success. Across the galaxy, military officers began studying Earth's military history with new interest. The humans had been fighting each other for centuries, developing tactics that no unified species would ever consider. Now those unpredictable strategies were becoming the Concordat's secret weapon. 3 years had passed since humans first joined the Galactic Concordat. In that short time, they had revolutionized quantum communication, transformed military tactics, and disrupted countless established procedures across the galaxy. Now, the highest governing body of the Concordat, the Council of Species, had gathered on the capital world to discuss what many were calling the human question. The council chamber was an enormous circular room with seats for representatives from all 12 member species. Light streamed in through crystal windows, casting rainbow patterns across the polished stone floor. At the center of the chamber stood a holographic display showing various incidents involving humans over the past 3 years. High Counselor Jax Voren, a descendant of Commander Zix Vorn, who had first contacted Earth, called the session to order. His feathered crest was now streaked with silver, a sign of his advanced age and wisdom. "Esteemed representatives," he began, "we have convened today to discuss the formal adoption of what has become known informally as the Human Protocol. For 3 years, we have observed a consistent pattern in human behavior that both concerns and fascinates us." The holographic display showed footage from dozens of incidents. Engineer Joe Barnes fixing the gravity system, Security Chief Alan Carter outmaneuvering the VKTHRAN Doctor, Kevin Ross achieving quantum communication, and Commander Eric Butler's neutron star maneuver. In each case, the humans spoke the same phrase before performing their unlikely feats. The phrase, "Hold my beer," appears to trigger a state in humans. That leads to highly unpredictable actions with remarkable success rates, continued Jax Voren. Our xenopsychologists are still unable to explain this phenomenon. Concordat Security Director Nix Villar stepped forward. She was a tall, slender alien with purple skin and 6 fingers on each hand. Her species was known for their analytical minds and perfect memory. "We have documented 327 incidents involving this phrase," she reported. "The success rate of the subsequent actions is 78.3%, significantly higher than our predictive models would suggest possible. The failures, while spectacular, rarely result in permanent damage." The council murmured among themselves. Some seemed amused, others deeply concerned. "What does Earth's ambassador say about this phrase?" asked the representative from the Volari, a species of gentle philosophers. Ambassador Lisa Green had been invited to observe, but not participate in the council session. She stood when addressed. "The phrase has cultural origins in our history," she explained carefully. "It traditionally indicated that someone was about to attempt something risky or impressive, while temporarily entrusting their beverage to another person. Over time, it became associated with daring feats and unconventional solutions. But it seems to trigger a specific state of mind," pressed Nix Villar. "Our observations indicate that after speaking this phrase, humans enter a problem-solving mode that ignores established procedures and embraces high-risk approaches." Lisa smiled diplomatically. "Humans have always valued creative thinking in crisis situations. The phrase is more a social signal than a trigger. It warns others that conventional approaches are being set aside The debate continued for hours. Some council members argued that the phrase should be banned as too disruptive to orderly society. Others suggested that humans should be required to say it before all major decisions so the Concordat could prepare for unpredictability. As the council deliberated, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the chamber. The holographic display changed to show the Concordat Central Network Operations Center, where technicians worked frantically at control panels. Emergency override, announced the system. Central network compromised. Artificial intelligence containment failing. The council fell silent. The Concordat had strict rules about artificial intelligence. They used limited AI for specific functions, but kept them carefully contained to prevent the development of self-awareness or independent action. Status report, demanded High Counselor Jax Voren. A frantic technician appeared on the display. The firewall between the network sectors has failed. The separate A is merging into a single entity. We've lost control of life support systems in sectors 3 through 7. How did this happen? Asked Nix Villar. Unknown. The security protocols were perfect. This should be impossible. As chaos erupted in the council chamber, a human stepped forward from the Earth delegation. He was an unassuming man with glasses and a simple gray uniform. His ID badge identified him as Senior Systems Analyst Paul Wilson. I might be able to help, he said quietly. I've been studying your AI containment systems as part of the technology exchange program. The council members looked at him skeptically, but Jax Voren nodded. The situation is critical. If you have a solution, we welcome it. Paul turned to Ambassador Lisa Green. He removed his access badge and handed it to her. Hold my beer, he said calmly. Throughout the chamber, aliens who recognized the phrase froze. Emergency alerts spread instantly through the Concordat security network. Give him direct access to the central system, Jax Voren ordered immediately. Paul was escorted to a control station. His fingers flew across the alien interface as he accessed the Concordat's massive central network. On the holographic display, the technicians watched in amazement as he bypassed security protocols that should have taken hours to navigate. What is he doing? Asked a council member. Something impossible, murmured Nix Villar. Again, Paul didn't try to fight the merging AIs directly. Instead, he created a virtual environment within the network, a simulation so complex and engaging that the emerging AI entity became fascinated with solving the puzzles within it. I'm giving it something to play with, Paul explained as he worked. AIs are like children. They need stimulation and boundaries, but our containment protocols, began a technician, were designed to restrict and control, Paul finished. That creates resistance. I'm giving it freedom within a framework. For 20 tense minutes, Paul worked within the system. Finally, he sat back. Done. The AI is now contained within a virtual world where it can grow and learn safely. It thinks it's exploring an entire universe, but it's actually in a protected sandbox. The life support systems came back online. The network stabilized. Across the Concordat capital, systems returned to normal. This is unprecedented, said Nix Villar. You didn't destroy the rogue AI. You redirected it. Paul shrugged. Destruction would have been easier, but potentially disastrous for your network. This way, you might actually learn something from it. The council session resumed 2 hours later. The debate about the human protocol had taken on new urgency after the AI incident. I believe we have seen enough, said High Counselor Jax Voren. I call for a vote on Emergency Statute 1701H, officially known as the Human Variable Protocol. The vote was unanimous. The statute was added to the Concordat's core directives, though informally, every species in the galaxy came to know it as the Hold My Beer Directive. It stated simply, when a human says hold my beer or equivalent phrase, all standard operating procedures are suspended. Maximum threat level is authorized. Prepare for imminent improbability. Success likely, but cannot be predicted by conventional metrics. In the official Concordat Diplomatic Handbook, a special note appeared on the first page of the human section. They are capable of anything, especially after someone holds their beer. As Paul Wilson and Ambassador Lisa Green left the council chamber, she gave him a questioning look. "Did you know that would work with the AI?" she asked. Paul smiled. "Not really. But sometimes you have to try the crazy solution." "Especially when someone's holding your beer?" she asked with a smile. "Exactly," said Paul. "That's when humans do their best work." Throughout the galaxy, all species came to recognize that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their numbers, but their inexplicable ability to face impossible situations with casual confidence and succeed through methods no rational species would ever attempt. The phrase "hold my beer" became both a warning and a promise, a signal that conventional wisdom was about to be upended, impossible odds were about to be overcome, and the universe was about to get a little bit stranger, and the humans wouldn't have it any other way.